Welcome, weary traveler. You've left behind the noise of the world and stepped into a realm untouched by time. Here, candlelight dances upon ancient stone walls, and the air carries the soft hum of forgotten lullabies beyond these gates. The night is gentle, and every story is a silver thread, weaving warmth around your heart. So, rest your mind. Let each word be a quiet step into the halls of dreams, until sleep, tender and deep, finds you. You are safe here, and slowly, the world drifts away. Chapter 1. A gentle night in the 1800s. The evening begins softly. Imagine yourself drifting back in time to the 19th century, a world lit not by bright electric lights, but by gentle flickers of lanterns and the warm glow of candle flames. The night sky is clear, the stars scattered like silver dust across a dark velvet canvas. The air carries the crispness of autumn, cool but not harsh. A soothing chill that makes every fire feel warmer, every shawl feel softer, and every hearth seem like a sanctuary. You are walking slowly along a quiet village lane. The ground beneath your feet is a mixture of dirt and cobblestone, uneven yet familiar, as if it has been walked upon by countless feet before yours. The cottages on either side are humble, their roofs slanted, their windows glowing faintly from within. Smoke drifts lazily from chimneys, spiraling upward until it disappears into the night sky. There is no rush here, no bustle of traffic, no harsh sound of machines, only the distant murmur of voices, gentle laughter spilling from a doorway, and the quiet rustle of dry leaves tumbling along the path. It is late October, and though the world is hushed, there is a sense of gentle anticipation. For this is the season of Halloween, though not the Halloween you know today. In the 19th century, it was softer, quieter, and filled with curious customs. Each one a window into the hearts of people who lived in a slower, more reflective time. You pause for a moment, breathing deeply. The air carries the faint scent of wood smoke, of freshly baked bread cooling on a windowsill, of apples stored in barrels for the winter ahead. Somewhere nearby, a horse stamps its hooves against the earth, its harness jingling softly as though joining in the rhythm of the evening. A lantern sways gently on a post, casting golden ripples of light across the lane. This is the world where our story unfolds. A calm, safe place where history whispers gently, like a lullaby carried on the breeze. Tonight, we will wander slowly through the traditions of 19th century Halloween, not with urgency, but with ease. We will linger over the little details, the odd customs, the gentle gatherings, until they feel like scenes unfolding in a dream. Let us step softly into the first of these traditions. In the 1800s, Halloween was less about fright and more about mystery, love, and fortune. Young people gathered not for loud parties, but for quiet games of divination. Imagine a small farmhouse kitchen, lit by the soft glow of a single candle. Shadows sway along the wooden walls, and the scent of apples and spice hangs in the air. On the worn wooden table lies a large bowl, filled with water as still as glass. Floating upon its surface are bright red apples, their skins polished to a gentle shine. The laughter that rises in the room is not wild or harsh, but soft and melodic. The kind of laughter that warms the spirit rather than startles the mind. One by one, young men and women lean forward, hands behind their backs, dipping their faces to the cool water, attempting to catch an apple using only their teeth. It is a game of playfulness, but also of tradition. For in those days, catching an apple was not simply a trick. It was a sign. Some believed that the first to bite into the fruit would be the first to marry in the coming year. And so, amid the gentle laughter, there was also a quiet sense of wonder, as though the future itself hovered close, waiting to be glimpsed. The water ripples, the candlelight flickers, and the room feels timeless. A picture of serenity and gentle joy. Even the smallest sound, the creak of a chair, the hushed whisper of someone waiting their turn adds to the softness of the night. And when the game is done, the apples themselves are savored, sweet, crisp, and carrying with them the taste of autumn. Each bite is a reminder that the harvest has come, and that winter, though near, will be met with warmth and preparation. Outside, the night deepens. You step back into the cool air, where the stars still shine and the world feels endlessly calm. Across the lane, a group of children wander with tiny lanterns in hand. But these are not the pumpkins you know today. Pumpkins were not yet the symbol of Halloween in every corner of the 19th century world. Instead, the children carry lanterns carved from turnips, hollowed and lit from within, their little faces glowing with flickering light. The turnip lanterns are simple, sometimes with crude faces, sometimes left plain, serving as guides through the night. Their glow is softer than the bold orange pumpkins of later years, and in their quiet way, they make the evening feel both mysterious and safe. The children's footsteps crunch softly against the leaves, and their voices float through the night like a distant song. They are not begging for candy, as children do now. Instead, they may stop at a doorway, offer a little rhyme, a song, or even a prayer, before being given small tokens of food. Perhaps a slice of bread, a piece of fruit, or a sweet made at home. There is no rush, no demand, only a gentle exchange, as though the season itself is a time of giving and receiving, of sharing warmth as the days grow shorter. Farther along the path, the village green stretches wide beneath the moonlight. Here, a small bonfire glows, its flames reaching not high, but steady, like a heartbeat in the dark. People gather around, not in noisy crowds, but in clusters of warmth, sharing stories passed down from one generation to another. Some stories are of folklore, of spirits said to walk on Halloween night. But even these tales are told softly, with more wonder than fear. The crackle of the fire and the slow rhythm of the voices make them feel less like warnings and more like lullabies. Children sit drowsily against their parents, their eyelids heavy as the voices around them weave patterns in the night. The fire warms their cheeks, and the cool night air brushes against the back of their necks. Everything feels balanced, safe, and steady. As the fire dies down, embers glowing like tiny stars upon the earth, the gathering slowly drifts apart. People walk home in the quiet, their lanterns swaying gently with each step. The houses welcome them with warm fires, thick blankets, and simple suppers. And now, let us pause here, at the doorway of one of those cottages. Inside, the family has gathered for a quieter ritual. A mirror is placed upon the table, and a candle stands beside it, its flame flickering steadily. One by one, the young women of the household step forward, gazing softly into the glass. The tradition says that on Halloween night, if you look into a mirror by candlelight, you may catch a glimpse of the face of your future love. The room is hushed. The only sound is the soft crackle of the candle and the gentle breathing of those watching. Each face in the mirror is pale in the dim light, eyes wide with curiosity, lips curved in faint nervous smiles. Some claim to see only their own reflection, softened by shadow. Others swear they glimpse something more in outline, a suggestion, a vision of a future not yet written. But there is no fear here, only calm wonder, a quiet game played in the spirit of the season. And when it is done, the mirror is covered once more, the candles snuffed gently, the night returning to its natural stillness. The family sits together by the fire, sipping warm drinks made of spiced milk or mulled cider. The warmth spreads through their bodies, the crackle of the logs filling the silence with comfort. Outside, the world grows darker, the moon climbing higher, the stars unchanging in their eternal glow. This is Halloween in the 19th century. Not a night of chaos, but a night of soft mystery and gentle gathering. A night where the future is glimpsed in apples, in mirrors, in the quiet flicker of firelight. A night where the oddest traditions turn up lanterns, whispered stories. Simple games create a sense of closeness and peace. And so, as the night grows late and the village grows still, you feel yourself drifting deeper into calm. The world is safe, the air is cool, the fire is warm, and every sound, whether the whisper of leaves or the sigh of the wind, becomes part of the great lullaby of history. The 19th century closes around you like a soft blanket, and you rest in the gentle oddities of their Halloween. Chapter 2. Lanterns of the night. The night stretches onward, soft, unhurried, and filled with the quiet breath of autumn. You find yourself, once again, walking through the cobblestone lanes of a 19th century village. The hour is late, though no one seems to mind. In these times, darkness is not something to be feared. It is a companion, a gentle presence that wraps the world in stillness. The moon hangs above like a silver crown, spilling soft light over the rooftops and catching in the glass of the small cottage windows. Each house glows faintly, as if a tiny hearth spirit lives within, tending the fire and ensuring that warmth and comfort never fade. As you walk, you notice the children once again, their hands clutching small lanterns made not from pumpkins, but from humble turnips. Hollowed, carved with care, and fitted with candles, these lanterns sway gently in their little palms. The flickering flames paint their cheeks with golden warmth, while the cool night air reddens their noses and ears. They move slowly, as if the night itself has slowed their steps, each one careful not to let the candle go out. The sight of these turnip lanterns is both odd and enchanting. Their faces are simple, sometimes smiling, sometimes frowning, sometimes only holes for eyes and mouths. They are not made to frighten, not in this century. Instead, they serve as guiding lights, symbols of the season, and companions for a night that seems to hum with unseen magic. The children walk from house to house, but not to demand sweets. Instead, they carry old rhymes upon their lips, songs and verses handed down through generations. At one doorway, a boy clears his throat and recites softly, "This night is All Hallows' Eve. When spirits wander, they softly weave. Give us a token, a loaf or a crumb. Blessings upon you, for winter has come." The family within smiles, and in return they offer the children a piece of bread, a handful of roasted nuts, perhaps a small apple wrapped in cloth. The exchange is simple, tender, and filled with meaning. For in this world, where the winters can be long and cold, sharing food is not just a gift, but a promise of community. As the children continue on, their voices fade into the distance, leaving only the soft rustle of leaves and the steady glow of their lanterns. You linger in the lane, watching them until they disappear into the night, their turnips glowing faintly like fireflies swallowed by the dark. The lane curves gently, leading you toward the edge of the village. Here, the houses grow fewer, the air feels crisper, and the fields stretch wide beneath the starlight. A small wooden fence lines the path, its posts weathered, its rails slightly crooked. Beyond it lies a field of stubble, the harvest recently gathered, the earth resting now after its generous offering. In the center of the field stands a bonfire, not tall or wild, but steady and calm, its flames reaching upward like golden threads weaving into the night sky. Around the fire, villagers gather, their faces lit softly, their voices blending in low tones. You approach slowly, feeling the warmth on your cheeks even before you are near. The people stand in clusters, shawls wrapped around their shoulders, hats pulled low, their breath visible in the cool air. Some speak of the harvest just ended. Others share small stories of their families, their work, their hopes for the season ahead. The fire is the heart of the gathering, its crackling like a soft drumbeat, steady and reassuring. Then, a hush falls. An elder steps forward, his face weathered by years, his eyes kind and reflective. He begins to speak, not loudly, but slowly, each word carrying with it the weight of memory. He tells a tale of the old days, when Halloween was not just for games and laughter, but also for remembrance. He speaks of souls who wander on this night, not to frighten, but to visit. Ancestors, loved ones, those who came before. The fire, he says, is not only for warmth, it is a beacon. a light that guides those gentle spirits home for a moment, so they may rest near their kin. The villagers listen in silence. There is no fear in their eyes, only reverence. Some close their eyes, imagining the presence of loved ones nearby. Others stand with hands folded, the warmth of the fire reminding them of the warmth of family, of love, of continuity. The story drifts into the night like smoke, rising, fading, becoming part of the sky. When it ends, the villagers do not applaud, nor do they stir with excitement. They simply breathe together, sharing in the stillness, as though the story itself is a blanket that is wrapped around them all. As the fire dwindles, glowing now with red embers rather than tall flames, the villagers begin to depart. They walk home slowly, lanterns in hand, their footsteps soft upon the earth. The elder remains for a moment longer, gazing into the coals, perhaps whispering a prayer or a thought unspoken. Then he too departs, leaving the fire to smolder quietly until the night swallows it whole. You find yourself standing at the edge of the field, watching the smoke drift upward, blending into the stars. The world feels vast and calm, as though nothing could disturb its peace. The silence is not empty, it is full, filled with presence, with the hum of the earth itself. Turning back toward the village, you walk slowly, your steps unhurried, your heart steady. Along the path, you pass more cottages, each one glowing softly. Behind one window, you glimpse a family gathered around a table, playing a quiet game with nuts and pebbles. Behind another, a young woman sits by the fire, her hands busy with embroidery, her eyes soft with thought. Everywhere you look, there is warmth, safety, stillness. Finally, you come to rest at the doorway of a larger house. Within, a gathering has begun, a quiet party, not with music or dancing, but with gentle games and conversation. You step inside. The room is warm, the air scented with cinnamon and nutmeg, the fire crackling softly in the hearth. At the table, a game of nut burning is underway. 2 nuts are placed side by side upon the grate of the fire, their shells dry and ready to crack. Each nut represents a person, 2 lovers, 2 friends, 2 family members. As the fire warms them, the nuts begin to move. If they burn quietly together, it is said to be a sign of harmony. If one leaps away, it is a sign of distance or discord to come. The onlookers smile softly, their eyes reflecting the firelight as they watch the nuts pop and crackle. The meaning is not taken too seriously, is more a tradition, a ritual, a way of marking the night with a small mystery. Yet still, there is a hush of anticipation, a quiet wonder at what the fire might reveal when the nuts have burned away, leaving only faint ash. The family laughs gently, their voices hushed, their hearts warmed by the simple game. Cups of warm cider are passed around, steam curling upward, carrying the scent of apples and spice. The warmth seeps into the bones, the taste lingers sweet upon the tongue, and the night deepens like a lullaby. The odd ways of celebrating Halloween in the 19th century are not frightening, not harsh, but curious and soft. Each custom is like a dream, unfolding slowly, each moment stretching into the next without urgency. Apples floating in water, turnips glowing softly, fires burning steadily, nuts crackling in the hearth. These are the rhythms of a season that moves not with haste, but with patience. And so, as the night draws later, and the fire in the hearth burns low, you find yourself sinking deeper into rest. The voices fade into murmurs. The candlelight softens. The world grows hushed. This is the gift of history, not its noise, not its battles, not its storms, but its quiet nights, its gentle rituals, its soft moments of connection. And here, in the 19th century, on an autumn night, you feel all of it settling around you like a warm cloak. Chapter 3. The mirrors whisper, the night has deepened. The stars above glimmer like tiny candles scattered across a velvet sky. The village rests in silence, and yet, within one cottage, a curious ritual is quietly unfolding. Inside, the air is warm with firelight. Shadows dance across wooden beams, and the crackle of the hearth seems to sing a lullaby of its own. Around the table, young women sit in hushed anticipation. A mirror has been set upon the table, tall and framed in wood. Its glass polished until it glimmers faintly in the candlelight. It is Halloween night, the one evening in the year when the veil between present and future is thought to thin. And so, the mirror is brought out for a gentle custom of divination. The belief is simple. If a young woman gazes into the glass by candlelight, she may catch a glimpse of the face of the man she is destined to marry. The room quiets. A single candle is lit, its flame steady, casting a pool of golden glow across the mirror's surface. The girls lean closer, their eyes soft, their breaths slow. The game is not one of fear, but of wonder. For even if the mirror shows nothing, the stillness of the moment is enough to stir the imagination. One by one, they take their turn. The first leans forward, her eyes bright yet calm. She gazes, not blinking, her lips parted in a faint smile. The mirror shows only her own reflection. Yet in that reflection, she sees possibility, hope, and dreams. She steps back, her cheeks flushed, her friends giggling softly in support. The second leans forward. The silence deepens. For a moment, she swears she sees a flickering outline behind her shoulder. A trick of the candlelight, perhaps. Or perhaps something more. She pulls back with a soft laugh, shaking her head, though the others lean forward eagerly, asking what she saw. She answers gently, not with fear, but with curiosity. Perhaps only a shadow, she whispers. And so the game continues, slow and steady, until each girl has gazed into the mirror. Whether they see something or nothing at all, the experience itself becomes part of the memory of Halloween night. The candle is finally extinguished with care, the room returning to the golden warmth of the fire. The mirror is covered with cloth and placed back in its place. To sleep until the next year, The girls settle by the hearth, sipping warm drinks sweetened with honey. Their voices soften into whispers, their laughter no louder than the crackle of logs. The night feels safe, dreamlike, filled not with answers, but with the soothing mystery of what may be. Elsewhere in the village, another mirror ritual is taking place. This one is more playful and involves food as well as glass. In the kitchen of another cottage, apples are peeled in long, curling strips. Each strip is dropped gently over the shoulder, falling softly to the floor. Tradition says that the shape the peel makes upon landing may resemble the initial of a future lover's name. The air is filled with the scent of fresh apple, crisp and sweet, and with the gentle laughter of the participants. Each peel falls differently, some curling tightly, others lying flat, but all of them invite the imagination to wander. A girl giggles as her peel lands in a shape she swears is the letter J. Another laughs softly when hers looks more like nothing at all, only a squiggle. The game is light-hearted, yet soothing, like a lullaby disguised as play. Afterward, the peels are gathered and given to the animals outside. Nothing wasted, everything flowing back into the cycle of the harvest. The apple cores are tossed into the fire, where they sizzle softly before disappearing into ash. The room quiets again, and the people gather with slices of baked apple pie, their forks moving slowly, their voices calm. The world feels timeless, as though each action is part of a ritual older than memory itself. These games of divination, odd though they may seem, carry no sharp edges, no harshness. They are woven from curiosity, from the soft desire to glimpse a future filled with companionship, with love, with simple joys. In the 19th century, Halloween was less a night of fright, and more a night of dreaming, and so, the mirrors, the apple peels, the candle flames, all these small acts become threads in a greater tapestry of calm. They remind us of how people once moved through the world with patience, with wonder, with hearts attuned to the rhythm of nature's seasons. Later that night, as the hour grows late and the village grows quieter, you step outside once more. The air greets you with a gentle chill, crisp but refreshing. The stars shine steadily, and the moon glows like a guardian lantern high above. You walk slowly along the lane, hearing only the sound of your own footsteps and the occasional whisper of the breeze. In the distance, a dog barks once, then falls silent. The world seems wrapped in a deep, protective stillness. The cottages you pass are dark now, their fires burning low, their families asleep in their beds. And yet, you feel their warmth lingering, as though each hearth has left behind a small piece of its comfort for the night to hold. You pause beside one cottage, looking through a window. Inside, by the faint glow of a dying fire, an old woman sleeps in her chair, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, a small cat curled in her lap. The sight is tender, restful, a living painting of peace. You watch for a moment, then continue, each step slower than the last, as though the night itself is guiding you toward slumber. The odd ways people celebrated Halloween in the 19th century were not meant to disturb the heart, but to soothe it. They were rituals of connection between people and their dreams. between families and their past, between villages and the turning of the seasons. Tonight, as you drift deeper into this gentle history, you feel those connections wrapping around you like a blanket. The flicker of candles, the curl of apple peels, the whisper of mirrors all linger in your thoughts like soft echoes. The night invites you to let go now, to breathe deeply, to rest in the safety of the past, where even the mysteries are gentle and even the unknown feels calm. Here we pause again. When you are ready, we will continue to Chapter 4, where more serene traditions await in the soft glow of the 19th century. Chapter 4. Fires of fortune. The night has grown deeper still. The stars remain steady above, bright yet softened by the veil of distance. The moon glides quietly across the sky, watching over the earth below like a patient guardian. The village rests, hushed and safe, and yet in one open clearing, the glow of firelight beckons gently through the dark dot. It is a Halloween fire, not wild, not roaring, but steady and calm. The flames rise no higher than the tops of the gathered people's shoulders, glowing golden and orange against the cool blue of the night. The air around it carries the scent of wood smoke, mingled with fallen leaves, damp earth, and the faint sweetness of apples stored for winter. The villagers gather slowly, their steps unhurried, their shawls and coats pulled snug. They stand in a wide circle, letting the warmth of the fire reach their faces and hands. The crackle of the flames becomes a gentle heartbeat, the center of the night's rhythm. Fires, in the 19th century, were more than light and warmth. On this night, they were also believed to hold power, the power to reveal what the coming year might bring. Fortune-telling by fire was a tradition whispered of in many homes. And though each family had its own way, each method was soft, simple, and filled with a quiet sense of mystery. One of the most curious games was the burning of nuts. Couples, or hopeful couples, would place 2 nuts upon the edge of the glowing hearth, or within the ring of the bonfire itself. Each nut represented a person. If the nuts burned gently side by side, it was seen as a sign of harmony, of a steady bond. If one leaped away with a sudden pop, it was thought to suggest distance or discord. Around the fire tonight, you see this game played. Young men and women kneel carefully, choosing nuts from a small wooden bowl. They whisper names as they place them close to the flames. All around, their friends and families watch in silence, smiling softly. There is no loud cheer, no dramatic reaction, only the quiet wonder of watching 2 small shells respond to heat. One pair burns close, curling toward each other until they crumble into ash. A murmur of approval rises from the onlookers, gentle and pleased. Another pair bursts apart, one rolling quickly away, the other burning down where it began. Laughter, light and airy, ripples through the group, not cruel, but playful, as though the fire itself is teasing. The embers glow red, the nuts crackle and hiss, and the game continues until the bowl is empty. By then, the air feels thick with warmth, not just from the flames, but from the closeness of people joined together in shared tradition. Another custom involves stepping across the fire's embers, not leaping, not rushing, but walking carefully, as though tracing a soft line between seasons. It is said that those who step safely across will be blessed with good fortune, their year protected, their harvest strong. Tonight, a few villagers attempt it. They do not run or challenge the flames, but wait until the fire is low, until only glowing embers remain. Then, one by one, they cross slowly, their faces lit by the red glow beneath. Each step is careful, each breath steady, each movement filled with reverence. The crowd watches in calm silence, offering soft applause when the step is done. The fire is not feared. It is honored as a friend, as a keeper of light during the longest nights of the year. Its smoke drifts upward, curling into the starlit sky, as though carrying the villagers' dreams with it. Beyond the bonfire, other small games are played in the shadows of the firelight. Children gather in circles, singing soft songs passed down from their grandparents. The melodies are simple, repetitive, soothing, their voices blending with the hum of the night. A little girl carries a turnip lantern close to her chest, its tiny flame flickering warmly across her cheeks. Her brother follows, dragging a stick through the dirt, drawing shapes that will vanish by morning closer to the fire. Women share bowls of roasted chestnuts and slices of warm bread. The food is passed slowly, each bite savored, each flavor grounding the body in comfort. A jug of mulled cider makes its way around the circle, its steam curling upward like invisible thread, weaving warmth into the cool air. The men speak quietly of the harvest, of the weather, of plans for the winter ahead. Their voices are low and steady, their words unhurried. Every sound here contributes to the lullaby of the night, the pop of the fire, the soft murmur of speech, the distant creak of a cartwheel as it shifts in the village lane. As the fire burns lower, the villagers turn to one final game of fortune. A set of stones has been gathered, small, smooth pebbles from the nearby river. Each person chooses one, marking it with a faint scratch or notch. The stones are then placed in a ring around the embers. Tradition says that if your stone remains close to where it was placed, your year will be steady and calm. If it shifts or cracks, it may signal change, movement, or the arrival of something unexpected. The stones are laid down carefully, one by one, until a circle surrounds the glowing coals. The villagers wait in silence, watching. The fire hisses, the smoke rises, the stones grow warm. Some shift slightly, rolling toward the center. Others remain still, unmoved. When the last ember fades, the stones are gathered again, each person receiving their own, carrying it home as a token of the night. When the fire is finally allowed to die, the villagers leave slowly, as though reluctant to part with its warmth. They walk back through the fields and lanes, their lanterns swaying softly, their voices hushed. The clearing grows empty, but the faint smell of smoke lingers, drifting with the breeze. You remain a moment longer, standing where the fire once glowed. The night is darker now, but not frightening. The stars seem brighter without the flames to compete, and the silence feels fuller, as though the earth itself is exhaling after a long, gentle evening. You breathe in, slow and deep. The air tastes of ash and autumn. Your heart feels steady, soothed by the traditions you have witnessed. In this world of the 19th century, even the act of fortune-telling is soft. Like a dream wrapped in relight. And so, you turn back toward the village, your steps unhurried, your body heavy with rest. Each cottage you pass glows faintly, fires burning low within. You can almost hear the quiet breathing of families asleep, their dreams carrying them gently through the night. You know that more customs await, more odd traditions to unfold, each one as soft as the last. But for now, you pause at the edge of the lane, listening to the night, letting its calm seep into you like warmth from a fading fire. Here, we rest once more. When you are ready, we shall continue to chapter 5, where the harvest table and its gentle offerings invite us into another peaceful tradition of Halloween. Chapter 5. Lanterns in the gentle dark. The evening settled in with a hush, as though the air itself wished to pause and listen. Soft shadows lengthened across the cobblestones of the village, while the glow of the last sunset lingered just beyond the horizon. In this quiet hour, the people of the 19th century prepared their lanterns. These were not the bright glass-paneled lamps of later days, but tender, humble creations. Carved turnips, beets, and even potatoes, each shaped carefully by gentle hands. Imagine a group of villagers seated by a wooden table, their faces aglow from a single flickering candle. They lean forward, slowly carving shapes into the hollowed vegetables, sometimes smiling at the odd patterns that appear. A crooked grin, a pair of round eyes, or perhaps a star cut into the side. The work was unhurried, meant to pass the time in comfort rather than haste. The rhythm of the knife against the soft vegetable was steady, almost like the rhythm of a lullaby. Once the lanterns were made, small candles were placed inside, their light shining softly through the carved openings. There was nothing frightening about these lanterns, only a warmth that whispered of home. Carried out into the night, they glowed like little stars scattered along the village lanes. Children watched them with wide, sleepy eyes, as though the world had grown its own constellation upon the earth. The villagers believed these glowing turnip lanterns could light the path for wandering souls, or simply bring a sense of guidance to those who strolled under the cool October sky. Neighbors would pass one another in the lanes, pausing to admire the gentle light, exchanging quiet greetings that felt like blessings. No one hurried, no one shouted. All was done in peace. From a distance, the effect was enchanting. Rows of dim lanterns glowing at doorsteps, the light spilling softly against stone walls and wooden gates. Some families left their lanterns to burn all night, so the darkness never felt too deep. Others carried them to gatherings, their gentle flames dancing together in circles of community. The lanterns, in their simplicity, were symbols of welcome, teeny beacons, reminding everyone that warmth, kindness, and safety could be found even on the longest of nights. Now, let your mind linger on this sight. Imagine standing among those quiet glowing lanterns, the cool autumn air brushing softly against your skin. The night is hushed, the stars above twinkle faintly, and everywhere you turn, there is only the gentle rhythm of candlelight, a safe and soothing place, where one might simply breathe and drift slowly toward rest. And as the lanterns burn low, the night deepens, wrapping the world in stillness. The villagers, too, begin to retreat indoors, their hearts comforted by the tender glow they leave behind. The lanterns remain, keeping silent watch over the sleeping village, as though promising that no darkness will ever be complete. And so, with the lanterns glowing softly in memory, we may pause here, until the next chapter invites us deeper into the quiet traditions of these gentle autumn nights. Chapter 6. The gentle masquerades of autumn. The evening deepened softly, as though the sky itself were draped in velvet. The stars shimmered faintly, patient and still, while the moon rose with a calm that seemed to hush even the quiet winds. In the heart of a 19th century village, the people prepared for one of their most curious and tender traditions, the masquerades of Halloween night. It was not the grand, extravagant affair of later centuries. There were no glittering halls filled with noise and music. Instead, these masquerades were gentle gatherings, lit by candlelight and warmed by the company of neighbors and kin. They unfolded in the wooden beams of the village hall, in the half-lit rooms of small cottages, or even in the cool, open air of barns and fields where lanterns were strewn upon simple ropes. The purpose was not spectacle, but closeness. And it was in this closeness that peace was found. Imagine the soft rustle of fabric as villagers pulled on their modest disguises, a shawl turned into a cape, a scarf tied across the face, a hat borrowed from a father, or a mask made from paper and paint. The disguises were playful, but never meant to frighten. They were meant to blur the lines of everyday life, so that for one evening, everyone might step gently into another role. A shepherd could be a nobleman, a housewife could be a queen, a child could be a wise old wanderer. And beneath each disguise was not mischief, but laughter, as soft and harmless as the sound of leaves brushing against one another in the autumn breeze. The hall or cottage would glow with light, every candle set carefully so that no corner was left in darkness. The flames did not flicker too wildly. They leaned and swayed like dancers moving slowly, their golden glow catching on polished wood and simple cloth. Shadows stretched upon the walls, not menacing, but graceful, as if the masquerade itself extended into another world. Neighbors greeted one another with gentle surprise, pretending for a time that they did not know who stood before them. A voice disguised with a soft tone, a bow given more deeply than usual, a hand offered in mock ceremony, all was done with an ease that felt safe, unhurried. The villagers moved about the room as though drifting upon a tide, their laughter low, their speech slow, each word chosen with care so as not to disturb the serenity of the night. The music, when it came, was just as tender. A fiddle softly played, a flute whose notes rose like wisps of smoke, sometimes even just the hum of a human voice, weaving an old ballad into the stillness. There was rhythm, but never force, a melody that swayed like a cradle, and those who danced did so with steps as light as whispers, their shoes brushing the floor in patterns that seemed made for dreaming. Children, drowsy with excitement, would sit at the edge of the room, their small masks slipping as their eyes grew heavy. They would lean against the warmth of their mother's skirts or father's coats, their lids lowering with each gentle note of the fiddle. To them, the masquerade felt like magic, but a magic that carried them softly towards slumber. And often, before the evening was done, they would be carried home asleep, their heads nestled against strong shoulders, still wearing the faintest traces of a smile. The food was simple, and yet it carried its own quiet joy. Loaves of bread, still warm from the hearth, broken and shared among the company. Bowls of apples, their red skins gleaming in the candlelight. Honey cakes, soft and fragrant, filling the air with sweetness. A warm cider was often poured, its steam carrying the scent of spice, comforting to both body and spirit. As cups were lifted and bread was shared, no one rushed. Each taste was savored, as though the meal itself were another lullaby. It is said that some believed the masquerades held a deeper meaning, that by disguising themselves, the villagers could confuse any wandering spirits who roamed the earth on Halloween night. But in practice, it was less about fear and more about connection. For when a neighbor's face was hidden, one was reminded to look beyond appearances, to listen more closely, to see the soul rather than the mask. In this way, the masquerade became not only a game, but a quiet meditation on kindness. And as the hours passed, the masquerade grew softer still. Voices lowered, the music faded to a single instrument, then to silence. Some villagers slipped away into the night, their lanterns glowing as they walked home along the cobbled lanes. Others lingered, sitting by the last embers of the hearth, content simply to share the hush of the late hour. Outside, the world was serene. The wind carried the faint scent of wood smoke, and the fields beyond the village lay blanketed in silver light. The masquerade masks, once playful, were now set aside, resting upon tables or tucked into baskets, as though even they wished to sleep. The village itself seemed to breathe in unison, every soul wrapped in the same gentle peace. And here, as the masquerade settles into memory, we too may rest for a while, breathing deeply, slowly, like the rhythm of a fiddle fading into silence. For the night is kind, the air is soft, and all is well. So let us pause here in this quiet afterglow, until we are ready to drift onward into the next gentle tradition of the 19th century Halloween. Chapter 7. The whispers of apple games. The night air lay cool and tender over the village, as though the earth itself had pulled a quilt of silver mist around its shoulders. Lanterns still glowed softly along doorsteps, their flames wavering in the faint breeze, while inside the cottages another tradition was beginning, the quiet, almost dreamlike games of apples. In the 19th century, apples were not only food, they were symbols of harvest, of sweetness, of wishes whispered toward the future. And on Halloween night, when the air was heavy with superstition, yet softened by the warmth of company, apples became part of gentle games meant to amuse, to bring laughter, and sometimes to reveal what the heart secretly longed for. Imagine a hearth crackling softly, its flames dancing low, filling the room with the golden haze. A large wooden tub, filled with cool water, is placed upon the floor. Into it are dropped several bright apples, their red and green skins gleaming like jewels beneath the rippling surface. The villagers gather round, their smiles patient, their laughter hushed. For though the game is playful, the night itself still holds a sacred quiet. Children lean forward eagerly, their small hands clasped behind their backs as they prepare to dip their faces toward the water. There is no rush. The adults encourage them softly, reminding them to take their time. When the first child lowers his head, the room grows still, save for the gentle sound of water stirring. The apple bobs away, then drifts back, touching his lips like a secret kiss. He lifts his face, triumphant, droplets of water shining on his cheeks like tiny stars. The laughter that follows is not loud or raucous, but soft and sweet, as if the entire room was smiling together. In some cottages, the game takes a quieter form. Instead of bobbing, apples are peeled with careful patience, each strip of peel falling in long curls upon the floor. The villagers believe that if the peel falls in one unbroken spiral, it may hold the initial of a future love. Young girls, their cheeks flushed with the warmth of the hearth, watch the curl of Pele with hopeful eyes. If it breaks, they sigh and smile, for the game is only a game. If it holds, they laugh gently, their hearts warmed by the thought of fate whispering through such a simple act. Other times, apples are hung by strings from the rafters, swaying gently like pendulums in the air. Children, again with hands tied behind their backs, lean forward to catch the fruit with their lips. The apples turn and spin, catching candlelight as they sway. The sound of giggles fills the air, mingling with the creak of the old rafters and the steady hum of the autumn night outside. Even the elders, seated with mugs of cider in their hands, chuckle softly at the innocent challenge. But beyond the laughter, there is always a sense of calm. The games, though playful, move slowly, each turn unfolding with patience. Between rounds, there are pauses for cider to be sipped, for apples to be sliced and shared, for stories to be told in voices as soft as the wind at the window. The games do not break the spell of the night. Rather, they weave into it, like gentle ripples spreading across a still pond. Some believed the apple games carried deeper meaning. To bite into an apple in the water was to take a blessing of fortune. To peel it in one strip was to glimpse destiny. To share it was to strengthen bonds of kinship. Yet whether the villagers believed these things fully or only half, it did not matter. What mattered was the togetherness, the way neighbors gathered in circles, their faces glowing in the firelight, their laughter like a lullaby against the silence outside. And when the games grew slow, when the apples floated lazily in the water, their skins now dulled by touch, the villagers began to drift. Some leaned against the walls, their eyes heavy. Children lay curled upon rugs, their breaths steady and deep. The last few voices lingered in whispers, recalling stories of harvests past, or speaking gently of those who had once shared such nights but now were gone. There was no sadness in these words, only a soft remembrance, as though the past itself had joined the gathering. The fire burned lower, its glow like the fading heart of the evening. The apples that remained were gathered, their skins shining faintly, as if to hold the warmth of the night. And when the tub was carried away, the floor wiped and the lanterns dimmed, there was a feeling left behind that something simple, something timeless, had bound the villagers together in a peace that reached beyond words. Outside, the stars still kept their gentle watch. The breeze sighed through the branches of the trees, and the scent of cider and apples seemed to drift into the very air of the village. All was calm, all was safe, all was ready for rest. And here, as the apple games fade into memory, let us pause once more. The night is still, the heart is warm, and the journey toward slumber is gentle. We will drift deeper, chapter by chapter, until sleep itself comes like the sweetest harvest. Chapter 8. Fires that whispered to the night. The air was cool and steady, the kind of autumn night that seemed to wrap itself around every soul in the village with gentle arms. The stars, countless and unwavering, gleamed like silver threads sewn into the fabric of the sky. And across the fields, in both humble gardens and open commons, the villagers prepared another of their quiet customs, the lighting of small, tender fires. They were not the roaring bonfires of festivals filled with noise and revelry. No, these fires of the 19th century Halloween glowed more softly, as though they, too, wished to lull the world into peace. Some were no larger than a child's embrace, a circle of flame flickering gently upon a bed of stone. Others rose taller, though never fierce, their flames dancing in golden arcs that shimmered against the darkness. Always, they were watched with care, tended slowly, their sparks rising into the night like wandering fireflies. The villagers would gather around them, their faces bathed in the warm glow, their breaths forming pale clouds in the crisp air. Coats were pulled tighter, shawls wrapped more closely, yet the fires themselves offered comfort enough. There was no urgency in these gatherings. The people moved with ease, their voices hushed, their steps unhurried, as though the very fire commanded a slower rhythm, one in which no one needed to rush, and nothing needed to be done quickly. Some fires were lit in memory. The villagers, in their quiet way, believed that on Halloween, the veil between the living and the departed thinned, just enough for love to be felt across worlds. A family might place a small fire at the edge of their field, the flame meant to guide their ancestors gently home. The thought was never frightening. Instead, it was comforting, a reassurance that no one was truly lost, and that the warmth of love was eternal, as steady as the flame itself. Around other fires, neighbors gathered simply to share the night. A fiddle might be played, its notes low and meandering, drifting upward like smoke. Old songs were sung, their melodies slow and steady, carrying stories of the harvest, of the earth's turning, of the comfort found in shared traditions. The crackle of the fire blended with these voices until it was hard to tell where music ended and the whisper of flame began. Children were often given small sticks, and with sleepy joy they traced patterns in the embers, watching the sparks leap and fade. The sight was mesmerizing, as though the stars above had drifted down to join the fire for just a moment before vanishing back into the sky. Their parents watched with gentle smiles, reminding them not with sharp warnings, but with soft words that floated into the night as peacefully as the smoke. In some places, bits of food were offered to the fire, a crust of bread, a slice of apple, a few drops of cider poured into the flames. It was not wasteful, but symbolic, a way of thanking the earth for its gifts, and of ensuring that the year ahead would be kind. The flames would hiss and crackle softly, accepting the offering, sending its warmth outward like a blessing. As the night deepened, so too did the quiet. The conversations, once steady, grew slower. Words were left unfinished, replaced by long silences that felt as natural as the breath of the wind. The villagers sat closer, their bodies leaning toward the glow, their eyes reflecting the firelight. The warmth seeped into them not only through their skin, but through their hearts, until they felt as though the fire was burning gently within them too. When the flames finally began to sink into embers, the glow red and steady at the heart of the fire, there was no sorrow. The villagers knew that the fire had done its work. Its light had guided, its warmth had soothed, its whispers had carried comfort into the night. Slowly, they would rise, brushing ash from their hands, carrying lanterns to light their way home, and behind them, the last embers would continue to glow, holding the memory of their gathering in silence until the morning. The air after a fire always seemed softer, as though the warmth had settled into the earth itself. The villagers would walk home beneath the stars, their footsteps slow, their minds quiet. Sleep waited gently at their doorsteps, ready to take them into its embrace, and the fires, though dimmed, lived on in the heart, steady as dreams. So now, let us pause here too. Imagine yourself beside that quiet fire, the warmth brushing your skin, the sparks lifting into the endless night. The world is safe. The night is kind. The fire is eternal. Let your breath slow with the fading crackle, and drift gently until we continue again. Chapter 9. Candlelit Windows and Gentle Blessings. The night by now had wrapped itself fully around the village, as soft and steady as a woolen cloak. The sky was deep, dark velvet, studded with stars that shimmered faintly, patient as ever. The moon, pale and kind, lingered high above, pouring silver light across the fields. And in the cottages that dotted the lanes, a quieter tradition unfolded, the simple, sacred act of placing candles in the windows. One by one, families would light their small tapers. The flames trembled gently at first, then steadied, standing tall in the glass jars or pewter holders where they rested. Carried carefully, each candle was placed upon a windowsill where its glow could spill outward into the night. Some cottages had just one flame, flickering softly in the dark. Others lined their windows with several, so that the house itself seemed to breathe with light. From the lanes, the sight was tender, a row of cottages, each window shining like a star, each flame a whisper of warmth. There was no uniform pattern, no strict order. Some lights burned high and bright, others wavered low and small, yet together they formed a constellation upon the earth, as if the stars above had been mirrored below, guiding any wandering soul back toward the comfort of home. The meaning of the candles was simple and yet profound. They were said to guide spirits, not with fear, but with love. A candle in the window was a welcome, an unspoken blessing for those who had gone before. It was also a comfort for the living, a way of saying, you are not alone. Even in the darkest night, light remains. Children would watch with quiet wonder as the flames were lit. Their eyes reflected the glow, wide and dreamy. Some asked soft questions, curious about whether the ancestors truly saw the lights. Their parents would smile gently, smoothing their hair, and answer not with certainty, but with reassurance. Perhaps they do. Perhaps the light itself is enough. And the children, satisfied, would lean against the wooden sills, their breathing slowing as they gazed at the golden flicker. Inside the cottages, the candlelight filled every corner with calm. Shadows stretched long across the beams, softening the rough edges of stone and wood. The light touched the faces of those who sat quietly by the fire, painting them in warmth. Conversations fell into whispers, then into silence, until the only sounds were the crackle of the hearth, the sigh of the wind against the shutters, and the steady rhythm of breath. Sometimes prayers were spoken, not urgent or loud, but slow and steady, like the turning of pages in a sacred book. Blessings for the harvest, for the family, for the neighbors, for the year ahead. Each word felt like a thread, weaving the community together in invisible bonds. The candles were left burning as these blessings were spoken, their flames nodding gently in agreement. And when the words faded, there was no need to fill the silence. The quiet was enough. The candlelight itself became the prayer, steady and eternal. Families would sit together in the hush, hands resting upon one another, hearts eased by the soft glow. Children, lulled by the warmth, would slip into slumber, their heads cradled upon their parents' laps, their dreams lit by the faint shimmer of flame. Outside, the village grew softer still. The streets were nearly empty, save for the occasional figure making their way home, their path lit by the glow of windows. From a distance, the houses appeared almost like lanterns themselves, their lights spilling gently into the dark, promising shelter, safety, and love. No house stood forgotten. No soul felt unseen. The light was everywhere, quiet and eternal. As the hours passed, the candles burned lower, their wax pooling gently, their flames thinning to delicate wisps. Yet even as they dimmed, they held their purpose, for in their small, humble glow was the promise that night could never fully claim the world, that somewhere, light would always remain. And when at last the flames flickered out, the memory of their glow lingered. The night was no darker for their absence, for it had been touched by their warmth. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as though carrying the blessing forward, watching over the village until dawn. And so, in this chapter of Candlelit Windows, we too may rest. Imagine yourself standing in a lane lined with glowing cottages, the warm light spilling across your face, the air cool and still. You are safe. You are welcome. The light is for you, too. Let it ease your mind, let it soften your breath, until sleep itself draws near. Here we pause once more, the candles burning softly in memory, awaiting the quiet of the final chapter. Chapter 10. The gentle farewell of the lanterns. The night had stretched long and tender, wrapping the village in its velvet cloak of calm. The autumn air was neither cold nor warm, but perfectly balanced, like the gentle weight of a blanket resting over tired shoulders. Above, the sky shimmered with a quiet display of stars, and the moon, glowing full and round, seemed to smile down upon the fields, the cottages, and the winding lanes below. This was the last hour of the Halloween celebration, and everything felt softened, slowed, as though the world itself wished to linger in these moments a little longer, savoring the sweetness before gently drifting into slumber. The villagers had gathered once more in the heart of the square. The great bonfire had burned low, its fierce flames now quieted to glowing embers, radiating a gentle warmth that seemed to breathe rather than roar. Around it, the people sat close together, their faces painted in amber hues, their voices hushed, their movements unhurried, children leaned against their mothers and fathers, eyes heavy with sleep, yet unwilling to give in, for they wanted to see the final ritual of the night, the farewell of the lanterns dot all around the square. Lanterns had been placed, hundreds of them, each one carrying a small, steady flame. Some were carved from pumpkins, their soft orange glow peeking through faces both kind and whimsical. Others were crafted from tin, their patterns punched with loving care, so that the light shone through like constellations in miniature. Some were simple glass vessels with candles inside, yet all of them together created a sea of twinkling warmth, like stars that had descended to the earth just for this night. The tradition was gentle, simple, and filled with quiet meaning. As the final hour drew near, each family would take up one lantern and walk slowly, silently, down the paths that stretched beyond the village. They would place their lanterns along fences, in meadows, by the brook, or at the edge of fields. The lights would remain until dawn, guiding travelers, comforting those who walked alone, and blessing the earth with gentle radiance through the dark. The ritual was never rushed. Instead, it unfolded like a lullaby, soft and unhurried, each step bringing with it a sense of peace. One by one, the villagers rose from the fire's warmth, lanterns in hand, their steps muffled against the soft earth. The square emptied slowly, the quiet shuffle of footsteps mingling with the night's sounds, the gentle sigh of the wind, the low crackle of fading fire, the distant song of an owl perched upon an oak. Families walked side by side, their lanterns glowing softly, swinging with each step. The children, their eyes half closed with sleepiness, held the lanterns carefully, as if protecting a secret flame. Mothers whispered soothing words, fathers hummed old lullabies, and the air was filled with the faintest murmur of voices, low and kind, like the tide retreating across a quiet shore. The lanterns were placed with thought and tenderness. A farmer placed his along the edge of his barn, blessing his animals with light through the long night. A weaver left hers by the loom house door, whispering a hope for good fortune in the coming season. A pair of children nestled their small pumpkin lantern beneath the branches of an apple tree, giggling softly, then yawning as the weight of the day claimed them. Soon the village paths and fields were aglow with scattered lights, as though the stars themselves had fallen into the grass and decided to stay a while. From a distance, the view was breathtaking, a patchwork of golden sparks stretching into the dark, each flame a gentle reminder of care, of warmth, of togetherness. The ritual held a deeper meaning as well. The lanterns were said to guide not only the living, but also the gentle spirits of loved ones who had passed on. It was believed that on this night, the veil between worlds was thinnest, and that souls might wander close, curious and kind. The villagers did not fear this, for in their hearts, the idea was not frightening but comforting. The lanterns were beacons, welcoming, saying softly, "Here is warmth, here is peace. You may rest with us a while." As the last of the lanterns were placed, the villagers slowly returned to their homes. Doors closed softly, shutters were drawn, and fires were stoked to glow through the night. Within each cottage, the air was filled with the fragrance of drying herbs, of beeswax candles, of wood smoke curling lazily through chimneys. Beds were turned down, blankets pulled close, pillows fluffed and waiting. The day's joy and gentleness clung to every beam, every wall, every heart inside the great hall at the center of the village, where the last embers of the communal fire still glowed. A handful of elders remained. They sat in silence, drinking warm cider from clay mugs, speaking little, for their words were no longer needed. They watched the fading flames with eyes heavy but serene, content in the knowledge that the night had unfolded as it always had, steady and kind. One elder, his voice deep yet softened by years, finally whispered, "The lights will watch over us." And indeed, they would. Beyond the windows, the lanterns flickered gently in the fields, steadfast guardians against the dark. They swayed slightly in the breeze, their flames dancing but never failing, as if the night itself protected them. For the children tucked in their beds, the image of the lanterns was the last thing they carried into their dreams. Some dreamt of walking among stars scattered on the ground, their bare feet glowing with each step. Others dreamt of kind ancestors smiling in the candlelight, watching over them with love. Some drifted into visions of autumn fields, endless and golden, where every stalk of wheat glowed like a lantern itself. The entire village slept beneath this watchful constellation of earthbound stars. The world felt safe, the night felt endless and kind, and the silence was filled not with emptiness, but with presence, with the steady heartbeat of life, of history, of traditions carried forward like a soft flame in the dark. And so, as the lanterns flickered gently, as the last embers sighed into ash, as the night deepened into its quietest hours, the story of this Halloween, like so many before it came to its natural close. There was no need for endings or farewells, for the traditions would rise again with the next turning of the seasons. What remained was only peace, only rest, only the timeless rhythm of breath, in and out, soft and slow, until the first rays of dawn touched the earth once more. Here, at the close of the tale, you may allow your eyes to grow heavier, your breathing too slow, and your thoughts to drift like lanterns into the night. There is no more to hold on to, no more to keep awake for, only the promise of sleep, gentle, deep, and kind, waiting to carry you softly into dreams. And so, my friend, the lights remain, watching, guiding, soothing. Let them carry you now into rest.